So initially, I liked the Jets +5, and then something happened. So we know the weakness of Carolina right now is their O-line outside of right tackle. It's a weak unit. Good right tackle, weak unit. We know the strength of the Jets is their defensive line and mostly their front seven. But over the last 2.5 weeks, the Jets have lost their best pass rusher, an interior lineman, and their top linebacker. So that front seven is not as deep and isn't as good. So now, because I really looked at this game as the Jets' defensive line would really monopolize the conversation when the game was over. We would talk about how Carolina, Darnold just couldn't get anything going. Now I get an experienced coach, revenge from a more experienced quarterback, and the Jets now have the young coach, the rookie quarterback, and their number one unit has been somewhat limited or marginalized. I'm going to take Carolina to win by a touchdown here. I would not have done this 3 weeks ago, but I'm going to take Carolina 27-20 at home. Matt Rule, Sam Darnold, those weapons, take a lead and hold on to win. That's my Action Network pick of the week. So Judge away.
This is the first regular season podcast we are doing. If you make picks this smart and sharp for the rest of the year, I don't even know that you'll need me on because you will be saying everything that is right every single time. Because Colin, at first I was worried you were going with the Jets. We had talked about the Jets.
Yes,
I knew you had a lean towards the Jets. And it has been uncomfortable for me the whole time because I've heard other people talk about the Jets. And here's what's interesting about this game. This game opened at Panthers -4. It got bet up to 4.5. It got bet up to 5. It got bet up to 5.5, right? And so then all of a sudden, everybody was coming in on the Jets. All the wise guys I know, they were like, I guess I got to bet the Jets now because they had this game lined at about like Panthers, like maybe 4.5, right? So they saw the 4, they were getting the number they wanted. Now it's back down to 4. The Panthers are the 100% right side in this. Number one, you just said it. First-year coach, Robert Saleh. First-year quarterback, Zach Wilson. Matt Rule is a very good coach. This defense improved during the offseason. This is a game where you want to be on the home side, a short home favorite. 100% agree with you on this. You are sharp. Way to go.
All right, thank you. I feel good about that. All right, now let's go with my, because that'll be, I will say this, that's going to be one of my Blazing 5 picks. That's the one I'll give away. That's going to be one of them. And I have switched sides over the last 3 weeks. I am adaptable. All right, Steelers,
Let me just say, that's the key to, by the way, that's the key to being a really good bettor. Be loyal to the number. Don't be loyal to the team. Don't be loyal to your first opinion. Don't be loyal to recency bias. Be loyal to the number.
Or loyal to recent information. An injury. I mean, Baltimore this morning, the Baltimore Ravens offense is not the same offense if these injuries keep piling up. It's not the same team.
Be ready. Be ready to jump.
Steelers Bills is a game I like the Steelers side. I do worry that Matt Canada is mostly a college coordinator now moving to the NFL and an offensive line that's in transition and a rookie running back, Najee Harris. But I think this game's going to be low scoring. First of all, I think Buffalo has addressed their primary weakness, defensive front. Let's not forget when the Steelers' defense was healthy, it was a force last year. Don't take their last 5 games. They had lost multiple players. I think it's a team that was a proud organization, Pittsburgh, that was humiliated by the way they ended. This is still a roster with 8 or 9 elite players. I'm going to take the points with Pittsburgh. And my rule is, if you're going to take the points, take them to win. I'm not following my rule here. I like Buffalo to win. But I got to tell you, I think this game is played overwhelmingly between the 20s. I think that's a lot of field goals. I don't think we see a lot of touchdowns. And I like Pittsburgh in the points.
Dude, honest to God, I don't know what's gotten into you. Because, because I feel like I'm talking to a professional bettor right now. Steelers are 100% the right side. in this game. This is a classic pros Joes game. Right now, all the money, 66% of the money. I'm looking at the Action Network app right now. 66% of the money. Money is an indicator of where professional bettors are, usually. 66% of the money coming in on the Steelers, 66% of the bets coming in on the Bills. That tells you when there's that kind of money bet ticket discrepancy, that tells you it's a pros Joe's game. Also, a lot of things we're going to talk about when it comes to trying to handicap teams is about what does the market feel about that team. And we're going to talk about that a lot with a lot of these picks all season long. The Bills couldn't be more overhyped. This is the team that beat the Patriots last year to win the division. This is the team that everyone thinks will win the division this year. This is a team that everyone thinks can be a contender against the Chiefs to win the conference. It's a team with Josh Allen, who got the big deal that everyone thinks is the second coming of the greatest quarterback in Buffalo history. You have to play against the hype when you're getting this many points with a good defense and a coach in Mike Tomlin, who, when he is a favorite against bad teams, is terrible. The record proves it. When he is an underdog against good teams, that's when he shines. You have all of the sort of anecdotal data in your direction, and you have the market conditions in your direction. I love the Steelers plus 6.5. I did take a piece of the Steelers at about plus 250 on the money line to win the game outright. And I did a couple like underdog money line parlays that include the Steelers.
All right. So
now you're just toying with people.
I really am.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go Falcons hosting the Eagles. What's the line right now in the Action Network?
Thank God you're finally going with a game that is challenging. Right now, it looks like the Falcons are 3-point favorites over the Eagles.
Okay, against my better judgment, I'm going to take Atlanta. And again, I have not picked an Atlanta game correctly in 37 years, so this is bad for me. But I have a belief that Matt Ryan is always as good as his coordinator. And I think Arthur Smith leaving Tennessee is bad news for Ryan Tannehill eventually. And I think it's good news. I don't know if he'll be a great coach, but he'll be a hands-on head coach with Matt Ryan first year. He's going to implement the system. He's going to be very, very hands-on first year. I think Arthur Smith is not a good, but a great coordinator. He may be as good as anybody not named Josh McDaniels as an offensive coordinator. Calvin Ridley's now become a top 5-6 receiver. Kyle Pitts, offensive line grades fairly high, 10-12 in the league. I get Matt Ryan against Jalen Hurts. That feels like a mismatch to me. I do like Philadelphia's tight end group, and their young receivers look like they could be hits. But nobody covers tight ends worse in the NFC than Philly, and Atlanta's got Kyle Pitts. I'm going to take them to cover by 6-7 points, Atlanta.
I feel like you took a step back on this one. And in the first two games, you were spot on in playing the number. You were flexible. This game, there is no value in the point spread. It is two underwhelming, underperforming teams. Atlanta is a 3-point favorite, which means that bookmakers are essentially saying on a neutral field, they're even because home field is worth 3 points. And I don't think it's a very good matchup for Atlanta. The strength of Philadelphia right now is their offensive line and their defensive line. That is where they have most of their talent, and their defensive line is incredibly good. That is a real challenge for a team like Atlanta that is not very good in the trenches at all. Specifically, think about Arthur Smith, Matt Ryan. This is going to be a passing offense. The Eagles are very good at rushing the passer, and it is going to be really challenging for Atlanta to keep them away from Matt Ryan. And they've improved their secondary. So now you got a front seven that is already good, and they've improved in the secondary just by virtue of getting healthier against last year. And I want to give credit to Jalen Hurts. There's a lot of conversations about Jalen Hurts, right? And everyone's saying, oh, he can't throw the ball. He's not accurate. This is where bettors distinguish themselves from fans. They don't just say, okay, 52% completion accuracy, whatever it was. They look at every game. He was great in his first game. He threw for a lot of yards in his next 2 games. He had one bad game in the last game of the year against the Washington football team. He went 7 for 20. Everybody plays badly against that defense. That front four is historically good. They are all under 26. They are going to be amazing. So I am not going to be. And by the way, the Falcons defense, they will be blitzing a lot. Their new defensive coordinator, Dean Pease, who knew Arthur Smith when they were in Tennessee, they're going to be blitzing a lot. If Jalen Hurts can handle anything, it's being mobile, getting out of the pocket, running against the blitz. So I think it's a bad matchup for the Falcons. I like Philly here. And if you're looking to follow your theory of playing a team that you want to take a little taste of them winning if they're the underdog, I think Philly could win this game.
Well, that's the way you see it.
Yep.
All right, Seahawks, Colts. Now the Colts, this line's gone 3, 2.5. What's the current line?
Seattle -3.
All right, so it's at the number.
Yes.
It's at the number. So to me, this is a game. Pick the team you think's going to win. I think Seattle's going to win. I worry about the COVID situation with one of the most unvaccinated rosters.
Yep.
Carson Wentz missed time with an injury and time due to the COVID protocols. The offensive line has some questions. Eric Fisher is more of a finger cross than he is at this point as an outstanding left tackle. I also think a lot of the receivers I like are young, and I think this team's going to be better in October and November than September. Remember last year with Phillip Rivers, they lost their opener to the Jags. So new quarterback, Frank Reich, doesn't have the simplest system. I would pick Seattle to win this game. It's not one of my stronger plays, but generally if a line is 3 or under, I just go, I'm going to bet the team I think will win. Seattle tends to travel very well. Why is that? There's one or two things. This is why Alabama is as good on the road as they are at home. One thing always travels well, physicality. Efficiency doesn't. You can get bad weather in Lambeau. You can't audible as well. Efficiency doesn't travel. Physicality does. Pete Carroll likes physical offensive football. Seattle travels well. They have kind of a very redeemable Eastern time zone. I think it's the best West Coast team in the Eastern time zone. I'm going to take Seattle this win. Seattle like 28-24, Seattle 28-23 if I had to bet it.
I don't love this game. I don't love this number. I think there's a lot of things that feel like a trap. T.Y. Hilton injured, you mentioned. O-line challenged. There are some COVID issues with this team and worries because of the vaccination status for a lot of players. And I actually love the overall value for Seattle in their division. I think it's going to be a dogfight of a division. I think Seattle has the ability and sort of the temperament and the skill set to bounce back in their division. I think things are going their way there. I don't like the betting metrics. So as a bettor, I like to see how many betting tickets are on a road favorite. And when that number starts to creep up into the 70%, which it is for the Seattle Seahawks, they're about 73% of the betting tickets are coming in as a favorite. Historically, that is a bad side to be on. And also, I already was leaning towards the Colts in this spot because of their status as a home underdog. And what you talk about physicality, I'm going to throw it back at your face. The Colts run defense is top 3 in the league. And so if we're talking about physicality and we're talking about what Seattle might want to do with the ball, then that's playing to the strength of the Colts in one area where they are able to be at full strength. So I get why you're doing it. I just don't agree with it.
All right, Chargers at the Washington football team. What's the current Action Network number?
This line has moved
I know.
Just today. The Washington football team had been an underdog in this game. It's Thursday afternoon, late Thursday afternoon in the East Coast. Washington football team had been a +1. They are now -1.5 point favorites.
Okay, well, I got the Washington football team as an underdog. So here's my belief on this. I think the Chargers are going to be really good. I'm not sure they're going to be really good here. I've got a new coach and a revamped offensive line. You know, it's interesting. So sometimes you can really tell a coach is good, but you can't tell for a couple years later. And I'll give you an example. So Ron Rivera walks into Washington and creates a culture with some real limitations overnight. Dwayne Haskins was a disaster. And they become a playoff team. And they give the Bucks trouble with Taylor Heineke. And then you start watching Cam's ineffectiveness and the fact that he has no market as a backup or as a starter. And you think, Ron Rivera won a lot of games the last 3 years with Cam. And he was bad. And all of a sudden, we don't mention Ron Rivera among the great coaches. And you start looking at it thinking, this guy's winning games with Dwayne Haskins, Taylor Heineke, and the old beat-up Cam who has no market. And so I don't know if the Chargers guy's a good coach, but I think Ron Rivera, it's becoming very clear, is a culture setter and is really good. I have them winning their division. I also think this is a matchup problem. 4 first-round picks, Washington's front line, against 3 new starters for the Chargers, all of which I like. They've never taken a regular season snap. Also, I think by adding Curtis Samuel, my question about this team wasn't running. They ran the ball pretty effectively. My question was, do they have some juice on the outside? Now they've got 2 receivers I like. I'm going to take Washington to win this game outright. Again, by November, the Chargers may be a superior team, and they may be a top 5 team in the league. Sunday, I think Washington's a better football team. I take them to win.
100% agree, no joke, with every single thing that you just said. Can't say anything else other than what's interesting about Ron Rivera is I agree with you. I thought the most interesting thing he did last year was benching Dwayne Haskins and saying, I think this team has a chance to win the division. You don't get that many opportunities in professional football. I want to do what's best for the team right now. And I think in that moment, he won the team and you understood why he had done so well in Carolina. It was amazing.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes me time to get it right, but I started watching Cam last year and watching. I'm like, Rivera's good. He's a good coach.
Yeah. I feel like I have a theory that you could buy into. There are certain teams that they are in the NFL, but they will never capture the imagination of the public. And a lot of them are situated in the Southeast. And because of that, the people on those teams and the coaches on those teams will never get that legendary mythical status that they would get if they coached somewhere else. Ron Rivera is a perfect example of that. Teams like the Bucks, the Jags, the Panthers, the Titans, no one is ever going to buy into those teams as national teams, right? You're never going to really see passionate fan bases around the country for those teams. And that diminishes the value and what the teams and the players and the coaches do. And Ron Rivera is a perfect example of that. Put him on a legendary team like the Washington football team. He's a genius. In Carolina, he's a guy who seemed to manage a team really well.
All right. I like Kansas City over the Browns for obvious reasons. What's the current number? It's moved a little.
5.5. It's moved, and this is a great bet by you. It's moved from 6.5, Chiefs minus 6.5 to Chiefs minus 5.5.
Okay. It's pretty simple. Best September coach in a decade. Defensive team with 7 new starters. Again, check in 2 months. It's different. Week 1, Kansas City's clearly the better team. Sunday, I like them to win by about 8 to 10.
This feels like such a no-brainer, and I don't understand why this number is moving in the direction of the Browns. And I honestly wonder, because a lot of times this happens in professional betting. The wise guys play the bookmakers. They will pound a side where they think they can move the number only because they want to bet the other side on Sunday. And the Browns are getting pounded. That's why the number is moving. And the Browns hype train has been ridiculous for months because their Super Bowl odds were in the mid-20s. By the time the season is opening, they're in the high teens, mid-teens. Too much money, too much enthusiasm for the Browns against one of the greatest offensive juggernauts in NFL history.
All right, here we go. Let's see. That's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 in, 2 to go. I'll whittle this down for Blazing 5 tomorrow on my wildly popular show, The Herd. Okay, Lions plus 7.5 hosting the Niners. As we've talked about before, bad teams don't know they're bad until about week 3 or 4. We have seen this. Jacksonville last year beat the Colts in week 1. The coach is talking about biting kneecaps in Detroit, and Dan Campbell's very much a high energy. He's a motivator. He's not a schematic genius. He's a motivator. He's an alpha. He's a guy's guy. He's got them believing in themselves. They're going to play over themselves, and I think their offensive line is one of the strengths of the team, and I think they can keep the Niners pass rush at bay. Also, Jimmy Garoppolo, he didn't get every snap with the first team. Jimmy Garoppolo, remember when LeBron early in his career would lose his confidence in his jump shot? And this is a really important thing in LeBron's career. LeBron never liked playing with a big that clogged the lane. Here's why. It hasn't been until the last 2 years that LeBron pretty much always has confidence shooting a three. But early in his career, he would lose total confidence shooting a three. And when he did, what would he do? For 3 or 4 games, he would go back to scoring at the rim, building his confidence up. That's why he needed Chris Bosh and Kevin Love. Get out of there. Don't clog the lane up and have your defensive big sitting at the rim. So LeBron's always asked his bigs, even Anthony Davis, get out of the lane. Same thing with Jimmy Garoppolo. 3 things kill a quarterback's confidence. Injuries, check. Your coach loses confidence in you quickly, check. And they draft your replacement, check. This is a very fragile Jimmy Garoppolo. Bad series or 2. I watched it in the preseason. He loses confidence so fast now. And I think Detroit will ugly it up. And I'm going to take the 7.5 and the home Lions.
Love this pick. Sometimes betting is gross and you have to do dirty things. And taking the Lions in week 1, this is bringing together all the lessons that we've talked about today. Go against the public, go against the hype, dig into the details, understand precedent, understand the market. 76% of the bets right now are coming in on the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, is that the highest in the league?
That is pretty close right now to the highest. And
okay, what? That is a big number. Jesus,
that's a huge number. Right now, that actually is. I'm looking at it right now. 76% of the Niners. By the way, here's another one to think about. 70% of the Vikings as road favorites against the Bengals. I don't love it, but it's another one to think about. 73% on the Seahawks as road favorites against the Colts. Ooh. So those are your numbers in the 70s right now. All 3 on road favorites. Like, to me, that's when you start thinking about your money line parlays, right? That's when you put the Bengals, the Colts, and the Lions in a parlay and say, all right, this is going to pay off at huge odds if they all win. And sometimes that happens, right? You put a little bit of a taste on that. But 100% agree with you on the Lions. The 49ers, forget about Jimmy Garoppolo. There's just too much hype on a team that hasn't had a great camp, that has had a lot of question marks, that I think there are confidence issues. And if there is one game where the Lions can come out strong, it's this game at home with a good offensive line and an opportunity to keep it close.
Finally, I'm going to take the Bears plus 7.5 at the Rams. Now, again, we don't know anything about the Rams. Their running game, which really spearheads the offense for McVay, will not be as good. Sony Michel's solid. He's not Cam Akers. Maybe close, but he's not. They also don't have their second power back. He was traded off-season to Miami. So the running attack is not as good as it was a year ago. The other thing is Matt Nagy is an Andy Reid protege. They're both great in September. They're play designers. That's why Reid was attracted to Nagy. That's probably Nagy's strength. If you go back to Mitch Trubisky's playoff years, how? He was very good at developing plays. Trubisky wasn't a great quarterback. Some people don't like Matt Nagy's in-game play calling, but his play design's pretty clever. my feeling here is he's going to unveil some stuff with Justin Fields. It's going to catch the Rams a little off guard. Also, the Bears don't have a great deal of offensive depth, but they do have interesting players. The tight end from Notre Dame, Cole Kmet, Allen Robinson. They have two backs I like, Montgomery especially. They don't have a ton of depth. They're thin. They've not been drafted particularly well. I don't love the GM. But their frontline offensive players are pretty good. And if Robinson's healthy, Kmet's healthy, Montgomery's healthy, they can score enough. They can move the ball. Let's also be careful about Andy Dalton. Dak Prescott should have been 0-4 to start last year if not for recovering an onside kick against Atlanta. Okay, Andy Dalton, what'd he win? He won the game that he replaced Dak. I think it was the New York Giants. I think he won 4 or 5 other games. Andy Dalton has generally been about as good as his weapons. Chicago's frontline weapons, not bad. Matt Stafford's first start. Don't know if they win. I'll take the Bears plus 7.5.
So a couple things. One, I fact-checked myself. There is one other game that has a massive discrepancy in betting tickets. The Los Angeles Rams have 84% of the betting tickets right now.
Okay, so I love the Bears now.
So now you love the Bears. I think the Bears are the right side only because of the hook, right? 7.5, you call the half point the hook, because I do think it should be about a touchdown. And so you're getting a little bit of value on the Bears. I think the Bears defense is improved. I think that the Rams defense is so good, they can pretty much shut down the Bears' weapons. I'm not a buyer in Montgomery yet because I feel like his best games were at the end of the year when their schedule is really good. And so he's getting one of those bounces this year where he's being talked about a fantasy guy. And I think he has yet to prove it in the really challenging games. I can't hate it because I think it's the right side, but it's not going to be for me a play where I'm like, yeah, this should be a top 5 pick for Colin.
All right.
We haven't talked about a game that should be, that is even more disgusting than the Lions, the Texans.
You are on your own island on this one. That is, first of all, they appear to be tanking. So they traded their best corner, who had the best camp, and their best pass rusher in the last 2 weeks. I think they're tanking. They want one of those first 2 picks. I swear to God, this has happened about twice in 10 years. I think they brought the GM down from New England. So he's manipulative, he strategizes, nothing's happening by mistake. You don't think it's crazy in the last 2 weeks they've gotten rid of their 2 most talented defensive players, arguably? Isn't that weird? It feels like a tank job to me.
It's totally weird, but at the end of the day, you've got a veteran quarterback who's won before at home against a rookie quarterback and a rookie coach who has been having a lot of problem adjusting and communicating with his team. The Jacksonville Jaguars should not be favored against anybody on the road. That's it. That's what you're buying. Forget about anything else. You're buying the fact a team this bad should not be favored on the road. That's it. But I'm fine to be on my own. That's what professionals do.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was pretty good. So we'll be doing this, folks, every Friday. What's the gift?
Before we go, I have a gift. Me and Simon Hunter, my co-host on The Favorites, he's a professional bettor, The Favorites and the Volume Podcast Network. We have given you an entry into a survivor pool. You and I are going to choose one game, one team to win, and we're going to do our best for you.
So wait, you and me are on the same team?
Well, you're on your own team, but I want to help you get there. I want to help you win. I want to help you win a lot of money. So I need to get your survivor pool pick. It's a gift from me and Simon to you for making us a part of the Volume Podcast Network.
Well, that's tough. I mean, because I do think the Rams will beat the Bears, but I like the number.
By the way, I will tell you right now, Simon and I, we took the Rams, even though we agree with you.
Okay, I'll take the Rams.
All right, take the Rams. I'll tell Simon.
I think Chicago's going to keep it close. I like the number with Chicago, but I don't like them winning.
That's value betting right there. That's sharpness.
But a lot of people will listen to this and go, whoa, it's one of your best bets. No, I have 8 games that were turn-ons for me. I'm only picking 5. I don't love all of these. I told you, I don't. Atlanta, Philadelphia. I talked myself into it. Don't love it. Remember last year? It was funny. A lot of survivor pools. Jags beat the Colts, knocked out about 30% of the people.
Yep.
Remember the year before that? The Saints lost their home opener against somebody crappy. I forget who it was. The Saints lost their home opener a couple years ago. That was my survivor pick. It knocked like 50% of us out.
Yeah.
There's always a staggering upset in week 1. Every year. A jaw dropper.
I'm very curious to see where you end up with your 5 because I think you got a couple games in there. The Colts, the Rams, and Atlanta that are tough ones to really get confident about.
Well, for you.
For me.
I like the number with Chicago. I like the hook.
Okay.
It's a good defense. It was if Khalil Mack plays to his level, which he didn't last year.
No.
It's going to be a tough block for Whitworth. Smaller, faster player. I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting matchup for a new quarterback with a new system. The Rams play no starters. None in the preseason. And now you face one of the most physical defenses in week 1. I think the Rams, it's going to be a chunky, clunky start. I think in the second half, they just have better players. They have more consistent performers offensively. But I think it could be a really ugly first half of the Rams offense.
I'm hoping collectively, Colin, that you and I don't get off to a chunky, clunky start with our picks.
Oh, good. Those are weird words. The other word I don't like is, another word I don't like? Moist.
Yeah, nobody likes moist.
Nobody.
Nobody likes it. Sometimes you say words over and over, like say the word batch over and over, and it starts to not even mean anything anymore.
Batch
of picks.
It's not a good word.
No.
By the way, I just got texted. The Saints lost to the Bucs and Fitzpatrick week 1, 2019 at home. That was the game. Knocked me out of my suicide pool or whatever you call them. What do you call it now? Survivor pool? That's more PC.
Survivor pool. You can call it a suicide pool. Survivor pool, suicide pool.
Yeah. And nobody likes moist. If you're in the middle of a conversation, at any point, and it's an important commerce driving conversation, and you just blurt out moist, you will lose the deal. Reed Hastings at Netflix will walk away from the table.
In 2 seconds. Well, here's the problem, though. I don't like sugar. I'm a pretty healthy eater, but I love cake. And my kid made one of these Duncan Hines cakes last week, and I started eating it, and it was so moist. Except when I was eating it, I was sitting with my kids and my wife, and I wanted to say, this cake is so moist, but I hate the word so much, I didn't want to say it out loud.
Well, that's a batch of picks from us today.
I hope they're not chunky and clunky.
See you, everybody. Good talking to you, buddy.
See you, buddy.